What is going on, everybody? My name's Earl here. What I have here is a MacBook Air M1. And this is such a significant leap between the Intel and where we are now with Apple MacBooks. So the M1 MacBook Air came with the M1 chip, which is an Apple design chip, which is based on the iPhones, iPads, the M chips, basically are ARM processors. So as you can see right off the bat, every time you open the lid, very, very quick. Now, if you compare that to a regular Intel MacBook Pro or a regular MacBook Air, or you could tell that it's going to take some time. It's very efficient, very powerful, and it barely takes any power, which is, we're going to get into that in a bit. I got this for around $360, which I'd say is a pretty good deal for the amount of performance you can get out of this machine. One thing that immediately struck after using this for a week is just how snappy everything is. If I open Spotify right now, boom, everything is loaded up. If I open Maps, boom, super, super quick. Calendar, instantaneous. Google Chrome, even though it's a bit more of an intensive task when it comes to opening different tabs, as you can see, boom, instantaneous. And it's very smooth while doing at it too, which is the most insane part about this MacBook. The fact that this is only the base of the base model of the M chips and this is how it's performing 5 years later is seriously impressive. I remember when this first came out, this was such a big deal because of all the things I just said. And I think the biggest thing for me is definitely the battery life on this thing. I think it lasted around 15 hours and the battery life on this is about 86% capacity wise left, because I mean it's been 5 years, right? Which is seriously impressive. If you look at MacBooks from the past, you normally get around 10 hours of battery life, which isn't horrible. It's actually one of the better ones, laptops out there when it comes to battery life with the Intel back in the day. But this just took it to another level. I believe brand new battery back in the day was about 17 hours, 18 hours of usage, depending on how intense you're using it. Personally, I got about 15 hours, which isn't too far off from the 17-hour battery life this thing has, but you also have to keep in mind that is with 5 years worth of updates of macOS. The way I use these machines is that I have two MacBooks. I guess two computers. I have a MacBook on my left right here, which is my main machine. This is a 2019 16-inch. I use that as a Windows machine. I started doing this thing where I would use a smaller MacBook and use macOS fully on it without any complications. Because the thing is, it's a bit pain in the butt switching from boot camp back to macOS and this and that. And also, I just like the smaller form factor because I can bring it around the house. I can go here, I can go there with ease. And before this, I actually had a 2017 maxed out non-touch bar model. And that was giving me a bit of issues when it comes to performance. I definitely noticed that wasn't as fast as I thought it was. And so, definitely not. I mean, it was a dual core. And so switching from that to this is like a night and day difference. I mean, I generally just cannot tell you guys how big of a difference it is and how impressive the fact that this MacBook, on top of how impressive its performance is, it's passively cooled. You know, the previous video I made on this YouTube channel was regarding heat management on my 2019 MacBook Pro. This, however, is completely the opposite. This does not have any fan. It is passively cooled. And so you cannot hear any fan spinning, you cannot feel any heat radiating from the keyboard or from the palm rest. For a regular average Joe, no doubt about it, get an M chip. No matter which M chip it is really good. However, and this is a big however, the biggest issue so far I noticed is indeed the lack of memory. Now, if you guys didn't know, back in the day, Apple in 2020, they only shipped the base models with 8 gigabytes. This is the 2020s. I cannot stress the fact 8 gigabytes is not enough. You could clearly see we're already using about 4 gigabytes of that 8 gigabytes physical memory. You guys also have to keep in mind that these MacBooks with M chips are sharing their memory with the GPU as well. And so that is what you call a unified memory. You know what? You know what we should do? We should do a RAM test or memory test. So we're gonna go ahead and open YouTube tabs right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and open Steam. And then we're gonna go ahead and open Calendar. Spotify, and you can see how quick these are to load, which is seriously impressive. Open Photoshop right here. Let's see how much memory this thing is taking. We're already maxing out and we're swapping. You could still theoretically run it. You know what, let's go ahead and open Lightroom Classic for Pete's sake. And then we're gonna go ahead and open Zoom and Calendar and Maps. And you can see practically maxed out. And look at the amount of swap we're already using. We're using a gigabyte. And you know what happens with swapping memory is that it swaps into the SSD. And if you guys didn't know, MacBooks or any computer in general with SSDs have a limited lifespan. They have a specific amount of writes and reads that can only do so much. And so if this thing keeps writing into the SSD because it doesn't have enough RAM, it's going to shorten the lifespan. Early on, they had some issues when it comes to SSDs dying on these M-chip MacBooks because there just wasn't enough memory. You can see that this has a 97% life indicator. I would start worrying around 50%, but we are far from that. But you also have to keep in mind, this MacBook seems like it's barely being used. My friend probably barely used this. He said he used it throughout college and this and that, but from the looks of it, honestly, this is a very good condition MacBook. And it looks like we've written about 47 terabytes of data on this MacBook, and it seems like it's still fine. So, you know, it really depends the condition of the MacBook, how much wear and tear it has, and this and that. A friend of mine who started developing apps decided to upgrade from this because it just simply wasn't enough. I mean, he was crashing all over the place, and on top of that, the space storage-wise just wasn't cutting it, and I believe the base storage for this is 128 or 256. So what I have right now is 256 gigabytes of storage, and that is also not enough. I'd say if you ever plan on getting an M1 MacBook Air, I'd say you should get it. However, there's this the biggest however, but you need to make sure you have enough memory and you have enough storage. Now, I believe you can go up to 16 gigabytes of memory, which isn't so bad. I'd say that's pretty adequate, even in 2025. However, you also have to keep in mind, Apple Intelligence is slowly rolling out, and it's going to require more resources, hence why Apple started producing 16 gigabytes as base model MacBooks now. I do have Apple Intelligence disabled because I don't really use it. Apple Intelligence is going to get there, and for a regular Joe who has it enabled, that thing is going to be taking up more resources than ever before. And also, you could probably find these MacBooks between $350 to around $500, depending on the spec and model. And I'd say that is a very good buy. If you don't mind a smaller screen of 13 inches, I think you should be fine. I feel like this is perfect for a lot of college students. I feel like college students normally use this. And even my friend, good friend of mine, used this all the way throughout college. And, you know, the best part about this is that it is such in good condition. I mean, he took care of this. And so that's why I got a case for it. Fun fact, I got this case for about $5 at Micro Center. You guys should always check their open boxes because you can get a really good deal out of it. Now, we're going to go ahead and play some games here. Now, there are some games that you can't play on this because, again, here's one of the things that I've been worried about for the past couple of years with having an M chip, and that is the fact that you can't really play certain games or certain applications because it is an ARM chip, meaning that not everything is going to be compatible with it. And so games like Borderlands 3 are just not available, unfortunately. Which is, I mean, it's fine, right? Like, you can see right here, Dirt 3, even though this thing is a very old game. And look at that. Last time I played it was in 2017. So certain games like these just are not able to run 32-bit, or older games just can't run because they haven't been updated. Also, another thing is that some games are so big that your computer just cannot hold the amount of storage it needs, such as Grand Theft Auto 5 right here. The best thing about it is that you could theoretically play some pretty decent games on this computer. We're gonna go ahead and play Rocket League. Okay, so for some odd reason, I just cannot seem to play Rocket League, which is unfortunate, and I refuse to believe this is a ARM chip issue because Rocket League is one of the best supported games that you could think of. I mean, it's a very popular game, but I guess it just can't play. So let's try to install Stardew Valley right here, which is a very basic game. Only takes a couple of megabytes. If this thing plays, I'd be very happy and delighted. This is such a basic game, But I'm sure, you know, if you ever own a MacBook, you know that these are the type of games you'll most likely play. Good news is that this game is so basic that it doesn't even have any video settings. So, as you can see, we could clearly play this with ease. We use a sight. Wow, look at that. That's very enjoyable. Using this day-to-day basis, I normally start my day with Google Chrome. As you can see here, it boots up seriously quick. If we do some web browsing, if we go ahead and go to every Mac website right here, you could see how fast this thing runs. I mean, there's no denying that this is a plenty usable machine even 5 years later. 8-core CPU, the M1, with 4 cores as performance cores and 4 cores as efficiency cores. Now, one thing I did notice though is that 720 HD camera. Even though it's a 720 HD camera, this thing is seriously good. I mean, the low light is significantly better than the one I had. So as you can see, you can't really tell, but it's a very good camera, whatever. Now going back to what I was saying regarding this being a perfect laptop for a lot of students, the keyboard on this is one of the best because they move from those tacky, clicky butterfly keys, which are one of the worst inventions from Apple. Even though sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. There are days I like it because it makes me type faster, but there are also days where I'm like, I don't like it. So these are the regular normal keys you'd find before the butterfly keys. They call it the magic keyboard, but honestly it's literally the same from any MacBooks prior to 2016 or 2015 with the MacBook. Let's just say these are really good keyboard. No flex because, I mean, what did you expect from Apple? It's made out of aluminum. Now, overall, I feel like this MacBook is still a very good MacBook even today, especially for students or for casual users such as myself in a specific scenario. There's no doubt that this is not usable. It is an absolute beast of a machine even today, and you could do some editing, you can do some music production, you can do some Photoshop, you can do this and that, but just keep in mind, if you get the base model such as this one specifically right here, you're going to run into some issues really quick. And that's not just because it doesn't have enough RAM, but it's also because there's not enough storage. But if you're just a casual student who uses this for Excel sheets and opening tabs and whatnot on the internet, it's not going to be an issue. It's going to be a very quick machine. And you know, the best thing about this is still the battery life. All day battery life on this is amazing. That kind of begs me the question is that even though this is way better than Intel MacBooks, performance, everything, how long can it be supported? Because right now, if you look at a 2011, a 2010 MacBook with a Core 2 Duo, you could theoretically run Sequoia on it. That is an unbelievable amount of years of support, unofficial support. That just tells you how good those machines were. And so if this thing can do that, similar to that, then that won't be an issue. But I highly doubt with how complex macOS is becoming now with its security patches and this and that. And so I just hope developers can find a solution for that. But if not, then this might just end up being a paperweight 5 years from now. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's 1:30 in the morning. Peace out. If we can't run games on an ARM M chip machine, we can do it with a Windows machine and just stream it. Oh my God, how did I miss that? If I can get a shot, I would prefer that. I forgot the controls of this, but I don't have time to do that. Boom, there you go.